Since the 1950s, we've seen a loss of 40 million birds from the British landscape.
We're going to see further declines of our unique biodiversity, which will be a catastrophe.
It's a really important time for considering what we do with our water. We can't continue to extract water from the ground at the rate we are doing and expect nature not to bite back. So unless we get smart about reusing some of this water, we're going to run out of it. It's going to get more expensive.
Over the next 30 years, there's a 25% chance that household water supply will be cut off due to severe drought.
Since 1970, 41% of all species have declined, and 15% are at risk of extinction in the UK. The situation is so dire, there's no ways about it, it's critical now.
Britain's biodiversity is in trouble. Almost half of the birds, half of the fungi, and a quarter of the country's mammals are at risk of extinction. The impacts of a decline in biodiversity are huge. A rich biodiversity regulates the climate, keeping the air and the oceans clean. It provides energy, food, and even medicines. And green, nature-rich places make us feel better, physically and mentally. Many of Barratt's developments already deliver a biodiversity net gain, essentially meaning that the area has more nature and wildlife than before the homes were built. From January 2023, we've committed to all of our developments delivering a minimum 10% biodiversity net gain. One of the key contributing factors to the health of the UK biodiversity is water. Without it, species decline and can even become extinct. The average home uses nearly 350 litres of water every day. That's the equivalent of 4 or 5 bathfuls of water. Imagine buying that much water from the supermarket. As temperatures rise and the climate changes, the pressure on this precious and finite resource will only increase. Our homes are already leading the way, with a Barratt home typically using 26% less water than the average home. But if we are truly to address the water shortage in the UK, we need to do more. An important learning of the Zed House is how we can take water conservation one step further and boost the health of UK biodiversity.
I think some people will still be surprised to learn that we're in a joint crisis, a climate change crisis. We're hearing a lot about that. And there's the nature crisis that we're in as well. I think the house building industry was seen as the destroyer of nature in the past. And now we know that things can be done during the process of building houses that are great for nature. It takes effort to do so, it takes new skills to do so, but we're showing how that's possible. The main impacts of the decline in biodiversity, obviously it's really serious for the species themselves, but if you think about the impact on us, we rely on nature for so much. They help give us clean air, clean water, all the pollination that they do for our crops. And if you imagine that game Jenga with the tower of blocks, and you can remove a block or two from here or there, and the tower doesn't fall, but you get to a point where you've removed enough that you really are causing damage, and you're at risk of the whole tower collapsing.
By using water more wisely in our homes, gardens and workplaces, we can ease the pressure on our wetlands and rivers.
When you look at water shortages, we have, people don't believe it, but we have places in the UK that are starting to get to points where they will struggle to get water in the summer months. So you're not talking about, your Africa or Australia anymore. You're saying in the United Kingdom there are locations where water is starting to become constrained.
Water companies capture much less rain for our use than people commonly assume. In fact, 12 out of the 23 water companies are now operating in areas of England that are rated as being under serious stress. London receives less rainfall than cities such as Rome, Miami, Sydney and Barcelona. Water is a precious resource, one that we have to use wisely. Our homes can help us use water more efficiently, and at the same time, we can create habitats for nature. The total area of gardens in the UK is estimated at 433,000 hectares. That's the size of the Lake District and the Yorkshire Dales combined. If we made homes or spaces for nature in every garden of the UK, Just imagine the impact that would have on wildlife across the country. As a proof of concept, the Zed House showcases what can be achieved even with a limited garden area.
So the actual dynamics of the garden are quite traditional in terms of the way that gardens are designed, but we've been able to incorporate a lot of modern features into that and a lot of sustainable and nature conservation features as well. So within the garden we've got green walls, we've got a rain garden, we've got wildlife friendly fencing.
We've got bird boxes, integrated swift boxes and bat boxes, homes built into the structure of the house. We've got a solitary bee home, and it's all been done in an environmentally friendly way, so we're not damaging nature outside the garden either.
I think the positives for the homeowner are really that by having all of these features in the garden, you're obviously going to attract a lot more nature into your garden. You're going to have a lot more butterflies, bees. So that combined actually will bring homeowners closer to nature.
The garden is a great place to start thinking about how to manage water consumption more effectively. But water conservation doesn't just stop with the garden. It's been reported that 1 in 3 people leave the tap running while brushing their teeth, wasting as much as 24 litres a day. UK showers use 840 billion litres of water each year and cost a total of £2.3 billion to heat, which is why it makes both environmental and economic sense to accelerate the change. So how does technology in the Zed House mitigate some of these stats? In the home, there's a shower designed by Keller that reduces water consumption by more than 50%, and a shower from Aqualisa that helps people reduce their usage by changing behaviours, plus a wastewater heat recovery system from Recoup that more than halves the energy required for every shower.
Keller Shower uses air-powered technology, and this propels air through to the shower head, and that air atomises water into large droplets of water that are around about 250% bigger than a standard shower. We're making less water feel like much more, and that directly allows us to reduce the amount of water consumption by around about 50%. In terms of household bills, what that means is a family of 4 would save around about £340 per year.
What we want to do as a business is we want to make products that use less water but give you the same level of cleaning and functionality. So the exact benefits of the end consumer of the dishwasher, it will use less water than actually washing by hand. So actually if you run a bowl of water and keep the tap running to wash things, you're going to use more water than it actually if you put it in the dishwasher.
In terms of water saving, there wasn't any huge differences in our behaviours. So the house would just run as you'd expect a house to run. You'd get water when you want, you'd get hot water when you want. So it wasn't like anything impactful on your day-to-day life. It was just happening in the background.
Water is going to become more expensive. We know that. There's a lot of electricity used in the movement of water and the clean-up of water, the stuff that we are just flushing down the toilet at the moment and spraying on our garden. So reusing that water at source, when it's a free resource that falls out of the sky, is a really sensible cost-saving measure for the consumer as well. STS were asked to provide a smart water butt for the Zed House. Basically a tank that sits on the outside of the house and collects water from the downpipe, just like normal water butts do. What makes it a smart tank though is that it has a brain, a computer that sits with it and makes decisions based on weather predictions, the rainfall forecast, as to whether it should let some water out the water butt and into the drain, or whether it should hold onto that water. The most important impact of a smart water butt is the amount of water that it can save and can reuse.
I think one of the key things for us in terms of what we've delivered here, as far as the garden is concerned, is presenting something that is ultimately achievable for most people. You go to things like Chelsea Flower Show and you see some amazing gardens which people will take snippets from, but look at in the whole or on the whole and think, I could never deliver something like that at home. I think the nice thing about Zed Garden is everything that people see here, they know they can achieve. People can look at it and think that we can do that at our house, and we can know that what we're delivering can be sustainable and have great credentials in terms of its nature conservation and wildlife value.
The first step, if somebody's wanting to recreate the Zed House garden, look at what types of plants that you can incorporate into your garden. Try and make them native. If you're in an area that you know is going to experience drought conditions, think about what drought planting you can include there, and always trying to get a pond or some water feature in there for birds. And these things are fairly easily replicable within a garden.
I'd really encourage as many people as possible to try and embrace nature in their garden. I think for some people the prospect of having swifts or bats nesting in bricks actually within your brickwork may sound odd. The great thing is that those are birds that are helping create the natural balance out there. They're keeping insect populations in check. And that's the beauty of nature. When you really look after nature and have the whole food chain in place, that's when you get the natural balance that benefits us all. If more house builders took on the approach of Zed House, the impact for nature really, I think, and I'm not over-egging it here, I think it would be really profound. With 300,000 houses a year projected to be built, imagine the impact if all of them were done where the garden spaces and the window boxes were rich in nature and where the house building process itself didn't damage nature elsewhere. That really could have an impact.
The Zed House experimented with various ideas and innovations, reducing carbon, boosting biodiversity, and making it easier and cheaper to be green. However, the primary aim of the Zed House is to help the industry build these homes of the future at scale, and as soon as possible. So, how can we make the Zed House the home of today? Watch our next episode to find out whether it's possible to move to zero carbon while meeting the demand for new homes in the UK. And if not, why not?
The thing is, houses are selling quickly, house prices are rising rapidly.
I think 300,000 homes a year is really, really ambitious.
We're about reducing carbon.
Yes, we should have moved sooner, but it's better we're moving now than not at all.